First, it's 11 o'clock. We're in the Tom Baker Room of the City County Building. This is the Bismarck Event Center Authority Board meeting. We'll call roll to call the meeting to order, please.
Member Gardner?
Here.
Grossman?
Here.
Tamanik?
Here.
Wachter?
Here.
Wilson? Here. Schmitz?
Here. All right, our first order of business is public comment, which would speak to anything on this agenda that's, I guess there is no public hearing, so it's anything on this agenda or anything on the prior agenda. So anyone wishing to speak to those topics, please come forward, state your name, sign in, and tell us the topic.
I just had a question if talking about catering is part of what's on the agenda, if I'm allowed to speak about that, or if that's not specific enough. I couldn't tell by looking at the agenda.
Okay, so it's not under the agenda, but I do intend to bring it under other business, which at that point in time, I will allow the caterers to speak.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else? I see no one and hear no one. I'm going to close public comment period. Our next item is consideration of approval of the various minutes that were sent out to everyone. I would entertain a motion if there are no changes.
I would move to approve.
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, we'll call roll.
Grossman?
Yes.
Tamanik?
Yes.
Wachter?
Yes.
Wilson? Yes. Gardner?
Yes.
Mayor Schmitz?
Yes. Next item is to receive event center financial report, and actually, Eric handed out a summary. If Eric, if you want to come up and just present it, and then I think Amanda, you've got some information to us as well, for us as well, right?
Thank you, Mayor. Committee members. So what you have in front of you is a brief financial revenues and expenses report for the Bismarck Event Center through March 31st. It's not complete in any way, with today being the first. We haven't completed our month-end close processes or our reconciliations to recognize some of the event activities that have taken place through the month of March. But this does recognize the things that were receipted and paid for through the city's accounts payable processes throughout the course of March. There are three sections. The first page is the overall summary of the event center. The second page is for the arena and the exhibit hall, inclusive. And then the third page is for the Bell Mayhews Auditorium. As you can imagine, we look at those financially as two separate buildings, if you will, just by the nature of the events that they serve for the city of Bismarck. So looking at the arena and the exhibit hall, showing the revenue, we have three general breakdowns. Event-based revenue, those are our show settlements, our rentals, the things that bring occupants into our building. And then I broke out the food and beverage revenues because we're very easily able to specify what those things are. And then our general revenues are just sort of our interest earnings, advertising panels, things that are static in the event center that they essentially rent out to various businesses throughout the course of time. And then miscellaneous revenue that's generally not significant in any way. And then the next item is a cost of goods sold. What we're looking for in there is our event-driven expenses, things for our food and beverage, our labor costs, our setup, our tear down, those costs that are only happening because of an event that's taking place within the event center, typically. And that brings us to the, I guess I should have adjusted the computer. There we go. So the net event revenue, as we're looking at it, of about $639,000. The next section is our operating expenses. Those are our general overhead costs, our our gas, our electricity, water and sewer service, the cost of our personnel that are there on an everyday basis that make that building work, whether there's an event going on or not. And we have the different breakdowns for cost category, if you will, for those costs, and those total about $705,000, bring us to about a net operating income or loss of $65,800 or so. In the bottom, the non-operating revenues, things that we look at, we have donations. Those primarily exist with the Bell Mayhews, with people are able to donate to the Bell in purchasing naming rights, I think is the thing for the right way to classify it for a seat. It helps with the uptick in the renovation of the Bell over the years. That's something that we've been working with the Event Center for, I think, probably 8 years or so. And then we also have the capital expenditures. So our capital expenditures, as you know, are approved through the budget process and reimbursed through lodging, liquor, food. Typically, we look at the reimbursements from lodging, liquor, food tax on an annual basis at the end of the year. And so these expenses that we see in there are capital in nature, primarily related to the ongoing costs of the UBL Capital Improvement Plan to redo the HVAC, and I believe he's working on the wayfinding at the same time. And then the last item down there, you'll see a lodging, liquor, food transfer. That is for the debt repayment. According to our bond covenants, we make a monthly transfer of 1/6 of an interest payment and 1/12 of a principal payment, and that accrues so that way we can make the payments on time. I believe it is May 1st and November 1st for those two payments.
Something we might want to do, because Oakview Group will have one component of this.
Yep.
We'll have the other component specifically is, it might be good to show the beginning and ending cash
Okay.
in that fund where the loan payments are going in and the capital improvements are going out of and in and out, so we can see that
Certainly.
in full transparency as to what the balance is in that fund.
Yep, we can certainly include the lodging, liquor, food part of that for future.
Okay.
And then moving on, I guess I should finish. There's about a $215,000 net loss with the arena and the exhibit hall. Once you take into consideration the capital expenditures that haven't been reimbursed and the cash that has been put in there for future debt payments that are coming up. Looking at the Bell Mayhews, again, this is a very community-oriented facility. Looking at our event revenues, again, our food and beverage breakdown. Obviously, with the facility at the Bell Mayhews, the food and beverage is significantly different than what we see at the arena or the exhibit hall. But net revenue for the first 3 months of the year has generated about $126,000, with cost of goods sold inputs of about $78,000, netting us a revenue of about $48,000. The overhead expenses that we incur for the day-to-day operations of it is about $87,000, giving us a net operating loss of about $39,300. And then you'll see at the bottom there is a small seat donation for $450, bringing us a total at the Bell of about just under $39,000 loss so far for the first 3 months.
So I'll entertain if there are any questions. I just told Eric I thought it'd be a good idea if we got started on something, knowing that it's going to change moving forward from this point as to who's reporting what pieces of this, but might give some ideas of things we can ask for out of Oakview Group as we move forward as well.
Yeah, and if there are anything you guys want to see in more detail or need more explanation for this thing for next month's meeting, I'm welcome to making any adjustments that you guys want to see specifically.
And knowing that our meeting's early in the month, like today is a normal time frame, getting month-end close done was not possible.
Correct.
Okay. If no one has questions of Eric, I'm going to ask Amanda to come up because she's got some event-specific type things to share with us, so we can understand some of what we've been doing. It's all probably going to change. But- Thank you, Amanda.
Okay, what I have in front of you, we just pulled some numbers from our eTix ticketing system. And so the first box up there is just the arena exhibit hall events, showing you the attendance that we had in tickets sold. So that first column is number of tickets sold for each one of those events. And then the second column there is the ticket revenue that was brought in. And a disclaimer kind of behind that ticket revenue column is this is the total ticket sales for each event. It's then divided out in between, obviously, what the promoter is getting for their cut and then what the event center gets, depending on the contract, with facility fees, online fees, that sort of thing that we might be making off of revenue. That's the base ticket. So that column is the base ticket price, facility fee, and online as a whole. One thing to point out, too, is with that Nate Bargatze show, that is the one that we did give the $8 rebate per ticket on. So that was one that we did give a rebate back on. All the other ones are either straight rentals or a co-pro that we did. The second category down there is the events at the Bell, going from January to now. Again, showing the attendance numbers. We had 5,674 in attendance. Ticket revenue, $185, $377.50. And for those of you that don't have the paper, the attendance and ticket revenue for the event center was 71,985 people through the doors, with a 1.590899 and 1 cent ticket revenue. Some upcoming events for April, May listed down there, going off of all of our buildings, arena, exhibit hall, and the Bell. We have our Shrine Circus. The first group here is ticketed events, and that's the Shrine Circus, our Folsom Prison Experience up at the Bell. We have the Symphony coming in for the Future of Music, Waddington Brothers, Midwest Murder Podcast, and Michael W. Smith. And then that second group of events there, those will be a combination of the exhibit hall and the arena. With University of Mary graduation, we have the Medora movie premiere after party, Chamber ADC annual dinner, the EMS conference, the Garden Expo, FCCLA convention, Ovation dance competition, and later Gator consignment sale.
Okay. Did you happen to have any net revenues on any of the ticketed events or the net income or loss, quote unquote, like Bargatze, for example?
I did not put that on here, but I can get that to you, and I can just email it to you if that's fine. And if you want to disperse it to the authority board, then
I
you could
would
do that.
like that, at least so we get some ideas.
Sure.
You know, again, it's probably as much information at this point in time, so we can make sure we know what we're asking for going forward and what we want to see for improvements out of Oakview Group. Chad?
This document that you have, so this is all the events for this year, year-to-date, is that right, through the end of March?
Not all the events, no.
Okay.
The two ticketed, the 2 boxes up there, those are just ticketed events that we've had
Okay.
through March at this point. So, no, there's a lot more.
And these are net of fees, is that right?
The ticket revenue column is the base ticket price, facility fee, and online ticket fees as one total. So
Okay.
then, out of that ticket revenue, then the promoter will get their cut of the show, and then we would get our cut if it's facility fee, online ticket fees, whatever the contract might read.
So does this report that we have align with the financial report that we have? Are they over the same period?
I'm not sure. Is this January through April 1st for ticketed events up here?
Yeah, so generally, what we have in the financial report that I presented is the shows that have settled with the promoter up through the end of March, acknowledging that there's a timing difference and being able to get everything receipted through. What we don't have in the financials is all of the benefit from WDA and state basketball. I'm not sure if Amanda has that in hers yet either. But then I think we're also still waiting on some reconciliations for like the home show and the sports show yet. So those would not, in its entirety, be acknowledged in the financial statements.
Okay, so I was looking at event revenue of 1,323,232.96. Then I was looking at the revenue on here of 1,590,899.01. So there's a difference. So I assume that's a settlement issue, right? That's
Yes,
because we haven't received settlement.
There's some timing that is within the settlement. So when we reconcile the operating accounts for the event center that they're using for ticket sales accumulation and then paying out for the promoter, those items haven't been taken place yet for the month of March. And so what we're seeing in the financials that you guys are looking at from me that is the net proceeds that the city has recognized as revenue after sales taxes have been taken out, after we've acknowledged the fees that we're paying to promoters and to vendors that are within the event center.
Okay, so just so I understand, this is not an accrual financial statement we're looking at. This is a cash basis financials?
This is a cash basis.
Thank you.
They're different sources of information, right?
Yep.
Eric's coming from City Books, Amanda's coming from eTix, the ticketing software. So, for example, the March concert for the symphony is listed on Amanda's report. We haven't actually signed our settlement and gotten my money yet, so it's not in the financials.
I get that. I guess I just was under the assumption the city was on an accrual type of financial reporting. So
yeah, the information that we are doing our accounting on an accrual basis. There's no balance sheet items listed there to acknowledge the timing in the actual cash changing for accounts payable and accounts receivable. There's still some billing items that will need to be reflected in the revenues.
Once you settle, then it would get to accrual.
Correct.
It's
Yep.
just not closed at this point in time.
Correct.
And also in some of the ticketed revenue, there are some fees that Amanda is showing here that actually don't belong to the city that come out of that ticketed revenue. So this is more of just what the gross ticketed sales were to the consumer, not necessarily what is city share, which is why I asked, like, I would like to have some of those, we talked about the other day of some of those events, what those net numbers are, because that would help more understanding for this board, which is what we're going to expect out of Oakview Group in the future. Go ahead, Jen.
What would be a typical timeline for closing out the books or having like a hard number for each month?
Typically, we get month-end closed by the 7th working day of the month. That's assuming, all of the things that we have the information, but we're pretty good about that 5 to 7 day range. Typically, depending on the timing differences still do exist periodically because we're working specifically with the event center, working with third-party vendors, promoters, if you will, that they have a timing that exists for us. Like a show may take place on the 15th, but we're working with their regional or national finance office, and we don't actually settle the show till maybe the 28th, 29th, or even sometimes into the following month, depending on what their workflow looks like and when they reach out to us.
So once it settles, then it goes into accrual and then you collect.
Correct.
Okay.
Yep, then we start to move recognizing all of the revenue coming into the city and recognizing all of the expenses going out to the promoter.
Anyone else have questions? These are great questions, by the way. I've probably asked them before, so it's good for everybody else to learn. Okay, thank you both. So at this point in time, I would ask if we would receive the preliminary March statements, knowing they're not, it's April 1, so there's no way they're finalized yet, but, and if we decide that we need to move our meeting to a little later in the month so that so this will be a question I think we'll actually want to put to Oakview Group as to when they would have their closes done. So we might be able to look at, more current numbers. Anyway, I would entertain a motion.
Move to approve?
I would second.
Any further discussion?
So in my experience on these, normally you just accept or receive the report rather than approve the report.
We're right now, we're just receiving it because it's not final.
Right, Sherry just moved to approve. I think we want to amend that to receive.
So amended.
I will second.
Okay. Any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll call roll.
Members Stefanik?
Aye.
Wachter?
Yes.
Wilson?
Yes.
Gardner?
Yes.
Grossman?
Yes.
Mayor Schmitz?
Yes. Next item is mission statement and policy discussion, and we've got some sample mission statements. We certainly don't have to take action yet, but I will entertain anybody's comments or thoughts.
Maybe I'll start out. Appreciate Chad's effort last month to get us started. And I think when we discussed it, there was potential to maybe shorten it or break it into two different pieces, one being a mission statement, one being more of a vision statement. You should all have a sheet in your packet. And Sherry, I think Whitney might have shared this with you as well for your use online. But I started out at the top with the original mission statement that was there, and then kind of separated it to a mission and a vision, and then just for context, offered the Alaris Center's mission, which is very similar to what we're talking about here. And then the following half dozen or so that are there, the ones that are italicized, those are just to keep the conversation going. By no means are they, I think there's one that I missed in italics, but by no means are these final or anything else. I just wanted other people to think about it, offer their comments. If we want to try and wordsmith this on our own here, if there's one that stands out that everybody thinks is appropriate, great. But I just wanted to offer a little more context so we weren't just left with one option, I guess. I thought it would be easier to have them printed in front of you rather than try and read and keep up and take notes along the line. So if anybody wants to offer suggestions or edits, or maybe it's a blend of all of these, maybe we go back to the original one. I'm personally not tied to any of them. Just wanted to offer them up.
And it's not that we have to formally decide today, given this was just handed out today, but we want to keep the topic forefront so that we can ultimately develop that as we move forward. And I think it'd be wise, I mean, my view is it'd be wise if we all took this back and maybe came back, provided whatever comments or edits we have, back to Jason before our next meeting, and then maybe we can have what those look like. That would be my thoughts, but I certainly listen to everybody else.
In crafting these, I try to be mindful of a couple of different things. Number one, in no particular order, the economic driver that is the event center, but also the entertainment venue that it is. And so there's, I think that we'd all agree there's a balance between the two. Its role in the community, it's to stimulate economy, drive the economy, but also for those of us that live here and call Bismarck, Mandan, and the surrounding area home, it's a place for entertainment and activities and events. And it's all things, it's the Bell, the exhibit hall, and the arena together. So rather than calling those out separately, just trying to meld all of that into something that made sense.
Is that plan okay with everybody? Okay.
Yes.
All right, then we'll move to other business. And I've already made one commitment, so we'll certainly address that. But I want to ask anybody else if they have any other business first. Members? No? All right, so we all have received some letters from some local caterers with their concerns, which I'm not going to dispute, concerns exist. But I do want to make sure that everybody understands that what the plan is from a capital standpoint is basically to fund the kitchen improvements at the building, not some separate location. those dollars are essentially all coming from Oakview Group, not from the city. There might be a timing item related to a couple $100,000, but Oakview Group is the one who actually put it in their RFP that they would want to capitalize the kitchen facility. So make sure everybody understands that. How they determine how they can justify, that's not on me to determine if that, they can make that work, but that's how they came. With that, I said I would allow comments from the caterers, so I will allow those to you to, however you choose you want to come forward. Just present your concerns. We'll listen. We certainly need to obviously give guidance to Oakview Group, and I think Jason's had some conversations with Oakview Group as well around this topic. So go ahead, state who you are and who you represent, and sign in, please.
I'm Michelle Kaufman, representing 1603 Events and the Paddle Trap here in Bismarck and Mandan. Thank you for just giving us a chance to speak our piece about this. I think we were all just a little thrown off when we got called into a meeting, and I think that we got a lot of kind of mixed messages and maybe some false information in that meeting as well. And so I appreciate you guys and your communication so far about this. I think we all just wanted a minute to speak to you guys because in the meeting, you know, we had some questions and concerns, and the OVG rep in the meeting said you need to take those directly to the advisory board. This isn't my decision. So that is why we came directly to you guys. That's why you received the letters you did, and I think why we're here today. So obviously this is, you know, your decision, their decision. You know, we totally understand that. We just want to make sure that our point of view is taken into account with that. We just would like to have you guys take a minute to reconsider the plan to exclusively cater food from the event center going forward. You know, we were told in the meeting that our services will only be needed until that kitchen is completed, and then they will be doing all the food catering exclusively out of that facility. You know, all of you have been so supportive of our small businesses in the past and, you know all of us fairly well in what we do. And a lot of us have built our staff and equipment around this large amount of business that we do, and a lot of effort into serving the Bismarck Event Center as a part of our business models have evolved over the years. I think that there are very few redundancies in the products and services that all of us offer, so it allows a lot of choices with people that are booking events at the Event Center. I know a lot of our repeat business is from people that we've spent many years building strong relationships with, and they choose us because we have those relationships. We've served them all in the past. We've done their event in the past. We know exactly what they're looking for, you know, what works and what doesn't. So there's a huge learning curve that we've already undertaken in making sure that all those people are served well. I know that, you know, you responded that, in fact, OVG will be making the investment to build out the kitchen. I don't know how conversations go then about the ongoing expense of the kitchen. Obviously, that comes out of the operating revenue for the event center, but just making sure that, you know, those numbers are figured in as well. You know, we know how expensive it is to constantly replace and repair kitchen equipment, and, you know, we do it all the time. So there isn't just a one-time expense, but an ongoing one. And then just that she said in the meeting that this is the first project OVG has ever done where they haven't come into a situation that is already fully built out this way. Every project that they've done already had a kitchen and an in-house catering commitment from the get-go. She mentioned Fargo might be a little bit different that they did that, but then they also still allow outside catering. It's kind of a hybrid model, and that was a bit unique. So it's not typical in that this is how it's done at every single event venue where, you know, they come in and then they start exclusive catering. So I think that there's also an opportunity for an atypical type of response in that we still support our small local businesses that have been doing this for many years so far. That's it.
Any questions of Michelle? Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
Tom Bushaw, I'm with Taco Del Mar. That a little bit better. Like Michelle said, thanks for giving us a chance to come up and talk, even though it wasn't a part of the agenda. Would have been real easy to not hear us out on that when things are maybe timely or not so timely and making a decision on the circumstances of what's going to happen with catering at the event center. Kind of hard to know what to speak to in the sense that not knowing what you guys are at with your decisions and communications with them, we really just know the one side of what OFU Group represented to us when we sat down with them. So pardon me if I, kind of just speak blandly to wherever it may be at. The Civic Center is, like you guys said, a source of community and a source of what a lot of people are involved in entertainment inside of the community. Just like for community, having dinner, breaking bread, sitting down with family when you have a meal is also a part of community. And so in that sense, when you think about our community and you think about how it ties in with simply catering at the Civic Center, it's also us as a group coming in and providing the food that people are enjoying and sitting down with their families and having a good time with. So I think that's important to consider. After seeing the financials up top there, I can understand why you guys are headed in the direction you're headed with a third-party management group and what you're looking to do with it. So I understand that, and I also understand and wanted to make you aware, if you aren't, that they are charging a 17% fee to us as caterers when we come into there. I don't know where that 17% fee has gone in my past of paying it. I'm assuming it goes to the city and helps pay off those expenditures of the Civic Center itself. That being said, I guess my thoughts are two for you to consider. Number one, I think we are a part of this community and we provide value in social capital to the people who come to the event center, sit down and enjoy themselves with their families. And I think it gives them options to reach out into the community, to come to us and say, we'd like you to provide for my daughter's wedding. We'd like you to be here for the 50th anniversary of our parents, or we've got this convention going on and we'd like a local community member who we know to come in and provide the food for that event. And I think that's an important consideration about the groups around our community that we want here in the long term to provide for those people in those circumstances in their lives. So if a hybrid model could be considered, or there could be a compromise between whatever kitchen is built and the caterers still being able to come in from the community and be a part of it, that would be appreciated. It would also help us continue to operate inside of Bismarck Mandan and help us to continue to provide that social capital for the community. Number two, with the 17%, I think that's important for you to consider too. If you do that, and you do decide, like, hey, we would want these people to be a part of our community still and still be a part of this, what are you going to do with that? That's another thing just to kind of not forget of an agenda item. Obviously, she told us a bit of their experience of taking over event centers all along I-94. They're a bit of a behemoth in that matter. What happens with that money? Would it be reduced to help us, again, come into the Civic Center and contribute? Because I'll be honest, and I can speak to my experience only in that I do lose business due to that 17% where people turn around and they say, no, with that 17%, we can't afford to have you come in. Or would there be a reduction, or would it stay? But I just think that's an important thing to note, that you guys probably want to consider that in that. So in closure, if you'd consider those 2 points, it would be awesome to continue to be a part of the community center and awesome to be a part of providing that social capital for those people. And think about that 17%, and thanks for the opportunity to speak. I appreciate you guys.
Does anybody have questions for Tom? I'm not going to let you just off, in case somebody has a question. Well, thank you for your comments. Is there anyone else?
Maybe if I can,
Yep.
Mr. Mayor, just to address the question about 17%, and Amanda could probably get to this even better, but it's my understanding that percentage on top of the catering fees is to help cover the event center staff time that goes into the setup and the tear down of some of those events and activities within. If I'm wrong, Amanda, please clarify. I'm getting kind of a head nod this way. So it helps cover the staff time that we incur when other events are going on in the facility.
Oh, absolutely.
To the microphone,
Yeah,
please. Yeah.
This is we're also learning here.
So that could be. I've been operating Taco Del Mar for about 2 years now. and in the number of caterers I've done there, they'll put tables up, and then I tear down and I do all the setup. And so, 17% of a $5,000 caterer or something like that to put tables up. Sure, wherever you guys are at on that. But nonetheless, at the end of it, I'm still tearing everything down and it's done there. Now, I don't know what has been done with these people in the past, and maybe I should be a little more adamant about what I want out of my 17% contribution to that. But that's been my experience with what I have. It's largely that one piece. Thank you.
Thank you. Amanda, you?
Yeah, just quick
Yep,
comment
yep.
on that. The reason we put the percentage on there is obviously because it's taking it off of our revenue to be the sole provider for the caterer in the building, to cover the garbages, to cover that labor that's providing for that. Yep, there's minimal setup typically. He's absolutely right. But there is additional expense that our staff is still having to put towards that event. So it's just to help try to offset it to provide something back to us.
Thank you. Again, anyone else who wish to speak?
I'm Heather, and I'm with Lady J's Catering. You guys have probably seen me before. And I think that they both spoke very well to everything that we are concerned about. And I think that there's a lot of misinformation both ways. I was also under the understanding when we had that meeting, the way the representative from Oakview spoke was that it was going to be a cost to the city, that they were just providing things like the plates and the chafers and things like that to the kitchen, but that the kitchen itself would be provided through the city, unless that had changed since that meeting. But was anybody else under that same understanding when she spoke?
Yeah,
Or like a split, which it doesn't
yeah,
matter.
yeah.
It doesn't matter. But either way, we just, like I said, we do appreciate you hearing us out. We just want to be able to continue to serve the community for years to come. And I think the three, that have spoken here, we will obviously find a way to make it work, even if we're not allowed to continue coming into the event center. But it does have a chance of ruining some of the catering that is available in the community overall. Because some of those really do depend on those really large events that the event center can hold to do that. And I've always looked at the 17% not as the setup fee. I've always looked at it as a privilege to be able to come into the building and provide our services there. And so for me, I get where that's coming from. This gal also did indicate to us that Oakview does run similar ones, like she does work with the Fargo Dome, which they still allow outside catering for a percentage as well. And so that, I guess, was where our hope was more coming for, was that we would still be able to provide it as an option to the community going forward. I just, obviously from our end, we don't know how far in everything is signed and how the talks and stuff have been made. But we wouldn't need, she asked, like, in the next few years while this kitchen's being built, like, what else do you want for the 17%? Do you want us to have the chafers on the tables? Do you want us? We don't want any of that. We come as self-sufficient. We come with everything we need. We come with our staff. We come with our warmers, we come with our chafers, and all of us each do something different. That's what makes it so unique and so wonderful, is because then we're able to offer the community all these different options that families and businesses have become accustomed to. And like Michelle said, a lot of them, they come to us because they've worked with us for years. And so our concern really is, yes, it is a concern for our business, but it also is a concern for the community and the consumer going forward. Not so much on the side of it where you guys are having concerts and stuff, but on your event side. And so we do appreciate, like I said, the opportunity to come up, to speak, for you to read our letters, to consider what we have to say. But obviously, yes, we know ultimately it's the decision of the city moving forward. But we appreciate you taking us into consideration as a business of the community, to be able to help us to continue to move forward with our businesses as well, and maybe not have to compete against something much larger. So we do appreciate you, so thank you very much.
Thank you. Any questions? Okay, thanks. Is there anyone else who wishes to speak? If not, thank you all for coming, and I do appreciate your letters and do know that the process has been very long and drawn out for where we're at today. But, you know, so whatever, I wasn't in any of those meetings when the Oakview representative was speaking to all of you, but the capital investment is for the physical plant. That's at least how we're driving it. Yes, the city will own it, but we have to pay it back if they leave because of that. So that's just, so you have a little transparency around that. I'm going to turn, I have charged Jason with some questions that he has put forth. So I'm going to let Jason, because knowing this was coming.
Yep. So, committee members, I did have a discussion earlier today with Brad Murphy. Brad is the general manager for Oakview Group that will be managing the.
Pull your mic in, because.
He'll be managing the event center. So my discussions with Brad this morning were related to a hybrid model. And the question, flat out question was, are there other examples in the Oakview portfolio where they do have local caterers? And Brad said, absolutely. He said, without a doubt, until the kitchen is complete, they'll be relying on the locals to fulfill all the needs because there is no kitchen available other than concessions. The idea of what I'm hearing is a hybrid where there may be a choice for the guest or the entity renting the facility to choose from locals or from in-house catering. Brad said that's certainly something that they would consider going forward. The other thing I think is worth mentioning is at this point, no design has been put forth towards the kitchen. And so we're not down a path where we already have ordered ovens and all of that stuff. And so this idea of a $3 million commercial kitchen being established inside the venue it's a significant change for us, but it's also not a guarantee that that's exactly what it's going to be when we're done. And so I would say through conversations with this group, with the management company, with the architect that's going to be helping us work through that process, there's going to be a lot of opportunity to ask those questions. Is this the right size and shape? Is this the right thing for us going forward? Or could there be a way to perhaps limit the investment into a kitchen, recognizing that we have a willing group of people that might help offset some of those in-house forever expenses that would be incurred with equipment and maintenance and all of those things. So I realize everybody here would love to have an answer today, but I would just ask for some patience and some continued conversations going forward. To my knowledge, we have not initiated Mr. Ubel or his staff to embark on that discussion of what the kitchen might look like in the future. But I know that is going to be one of our top priorities, and we will hopefully get to that sooner rather than later. So with that, if we could just continue conversations, I think for anybody that knows me, I support the local guy as much as we can, and I appreciate everything that you've done to this point, and keeping the economy here, keeping the businesses thriving, keeping the people employed. That is certainly part of an interest that I have, and can't commit to one thing or another at this point, but just know that we appreciate all the feedback and we'll be thinking of you as we go forward with the discussions.
Yeah, and I guess I could add to that. I mean, I think one thing that was clear in all the processes as we did the RFPs and had conversations with the two finalists, guest experience is what they're going to be most concerned about. And so they're probably going to control what those experiences feel like within whatever process goes through with food and beverage, because they're about the building and the guest experiences. So if they are so inclined, and I would have to imagine, as big as our facility is, that there's going to be situations where there's going to have to be more than one provider of food and beverage if we truly activate the building the way I would envision it happening. They're going to have some rules that they want to have followed. It's going to be their role to do that. And so just, as Jason said, you have to be patient as we work through this. This is new for all of us. And trust me, I got 3 people sitting in the back behind you who are all experiencing a fair amount of their own change in life and anxiety as we move forward too. So this is about the community, and it's not just about Bismarck, by the way, it's about the Bismarck-Mandan region and what we can do and bringing in conventions, which is where that will feed everybody's table, more so than the local wedding. So, anything else?
Maybe a question, if I may, for the groups that are here. anybody care to share, not dollars, but number of events? How many times a year are you providing service inside the facility today? Or staff in the back? Are we talking once a month, once a week?
That's a great question.
We did 2 very large events for us in March alone, 3 days total, plus we catered to WDA and to state both for the referees. And then we just did the wrestling this past weekend as well. So for my business, if I were to do a percentage, it'll probably cut a good 15 to 20% out of my business a year,
Okay, thank you.
which is huge when you're really small. So.
Mr. Mayor, I would just go on the record, sorry, Michelle.
No, that's okay.
Of saying that I definitely will do everything I can to support trying to find a hybrid model for you guys, so.
Awesome. I was just going to answer to the number of events. For us at 1603 in the paddle shop, man, we work together because I would say it's probably only 6 to 8 a year, but it's those big 3-day conferences where we're doing, you know, upwards of $100,000 for a client over a 3-day period of time. And then, you know, we use both of our businesses to make that happen, you know, between all of the breakfast, lunch, dinner, snacks, social hours afterwards and all that stuff.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, go ahead.
I had a quick question. Did they indicate,
Can you come to the mic, please?
it's a question that it's probably down the road, but it's just maybe something to keep in mind as you guys are moving forward with the discussions with them of having a hybrid model. Something that I think was a concern for all of us was how they are going to staff that. And staff their events. I know they probably have a plan. Maybe they fly people in. I don't know. But something like a big group like that does not have that us people do have is family and friends. I have, you know, a normal staff of 38 people between the full-time and part-time. But when I do large events at the event center where we're doing multi-day things, like Michelle said, she's utilizing 2 businesses to staff it. I have a whole list of reserve people that just come in to help me for those 2 or 3 days. How does the city with the Oakview group, how do they plan to do that when it's not an everyday thing? You know, it's not a guaranteed hours. You know, she was talking, well, we plan to, you know, pull from the moms that want to get out of the house on Friday nights and make some money. That's not what our city is. This isn't Grand Forks. This isn't Fargo. We have other big venues that are doing things like that. You know, BSC with their energy center now, that's gonna, you know, that's pulling from the event center because they're holding bigger things that the event center used to. And they don't need any other caterers. They have their set up there. But if Oakview is running this and managing it, they're talking about pulling people from, you know, the colleges and the high schools and stuff to run those things. And I feel like you guys have seen some of that already within the event center, and we're already not being able to staff some of it. And so maybe, you know, for sure that might be a way to kind of present with that hybrid is some of that staffing, because then are they going to have to pay to bring people from outside for large things? You know, then you're paying for lodging, you know, your per diems and that kind of stuff as well. And like I said, maybe, I mean, I'm sure it's stuff you guys have thought of, but we have that support here because we're local and we have family and friends that live around here.
Okay, thank you.
Hi, I'm Clinton Goring, the general manager of the Ramada by Wyndham in Bismarck here. We also do catering there as well. We do anywhere between 6 and 12 events a year. So yeah, it's kind of a big hit for us. I don't necessarily want to give a revenue number, but it's a big hit for us. I would say probably close to about 15 or 20% as well.
Thank you.
More similarly to him or Michelle, who just spoke, anywhere from 4 to 10 times a year, typically for me. Just have to consider for a smaller business the size that the Civic Center is obviously hosting is a larger group of people, and that's a significant chunk of our business as well. Okay.
Thank you. All right, is anybody else have any questions? I think, this is something we have some ongoing processes still in place, so, go ahead.
Sorry, just one more. I think this is my last one. It's just something I'm like, okay, I'm going to ask. You might not know yet either in the new phases of it. When Oakview runs their kitchens, does that revenue from that go to the city or does that go to Oakview?
Goes to the city.
Okay.
The,
So we would be competing against the city essentially, like the small business.
the Oakview Group is hired to manage on the city's behalf. So the building, the facilities,
Yeah,
everything
I just
inside
didn't
will
know if
still
it
be
was
the
like a certain
city's.
percentage that they're taking off of it a month or anything like that, obviously.
They have incentives built into their contract.
Right, okay, that's what I was thinking.
Okay, anything else? Any other things from the members? Go ahead, Chet.
Yeah, just going back to these financial statements. Sorry to be a pain about this, but it would be helpful for me if, when we're looking at these reports, if we can at least have reports where the numbers are matching. Like this 1,590,899.01 should be the event revenue coming in. I recognize that we haven't received some of that money, but maybe there could be a column there of what we're waiting to collect or something like that, just so when we're looking at the numbers, they're jiving back and forth.
Go ahead, Eric, but I think we're going to see a difference in reporting as we get into Oakview, because Oakview Group is actually going to be providing some of that information is the way it's being built, I believe.
Right, so you're asking to have like a, excuse me, similar to like an accounts receivable type
Yeah,
anticipation that's coming in?
right.
Okay.
Or conversely, if the ticketed revenue is $1.5 million, but out of that, we're giving $200,000 to the promoter, or, because Bergazzi was one of those where we shared some of the ticket revenue back, we'd have the gross revenue and then a line item showing net out to performer.
Right. What my expectation would be is if we're looking at a $1,590,000 number for the event center, that number is somehow going to correspond up in this income column. Somehow. There'll be some way to reconcile that between these numbers.
And I think part of the problem is we're on day one of the month, and so I think if we were having this meeting 2 weeks from now, those numbers would be much more in alignment, right?
Correct. Once we get through the month-end process, our revenues and expenses that we're going to recognize as a part of that process for the show settlements and that activity is going to significantly change our promoter expenses and our revenues for show recognition as well.
Right. And if we have to change the date of this meeting so we can have reports that, where the numbers are matching, I think that is worth doing.
Sure.
Plus,
Yeah,
the goal would be that these will be out in advance of the meeting in the future.
correct.
I got to ask what I wanted on the agenda, so I'd like to start the process.
I think it's a good start. It's a
Yeah.
good start.
I had toyed with the idea of presenting end of February numbers because those are much more final. But knowing that the month of March was extremely busy at the event center, I thought there was value in providing that information today.
I think it's good, it's our first conversation, talking about this. So I think it was good to see what it looks like, and I think from here on forward, we'll find a good way of doing this, so.
Sure.
Not that it's not good, you're doing a great job, so.
Okay. I will see what I can put together for next month with trying to show some of the timing things that we're waiting.
Thank you.
Yep.
Anything else? Mike, did you have anything else? Okay, then we are adjourned. Thank you, everyone. Thanks for coming.